Welcome, everybody, to our
Welcome.
Table Talk number 38.
38.
We are coming to you live, and we're so glad that you've joined us today. And we're hitting the ground running.
We're hitting the ground running.
I love hitting the ground
running.
And
I love our surroundings today.
Yes, we're in a beautiful setting here.
Yes.
It's warm. We're by the fire.
Yeah, we got a fire going here. We got our coffee.
Absolutely. Hope
love
we can
it.
make any of you jealous because we're having such a great time outside. You know, we have to count the number. It's bad to say that, but we're going to have to start counting the number of days that we have that we can spend outside, because sooner or later it's going to get to the point where it's too cold that we're not going to be able to enjoy it.
Because it sure dips down at night.
It does, but you know what? It feels good that way.
So today we're not at 1920 Wellock Road.
No, we're not.
But
we are at an
live.
undisclosed location that we are not disclosing.
Where we
That's
are.
right. No, we're having some fun here.
Yeah, we're glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking that to join us. And hey, would you hit the share button and let other people know if you enjoy this program? We would love to come into other homes as well, too, and stuff like that. I said we're going to hit the ground running.
Yes.
And so we are tackling a subject that is going to be a lot of fun to discuss.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you, I love controversy. I love shaking things up. I like talking about things that other people won't want to talk about. And
you do.
And I think it's important because sometimes they feel like when it comes to a church setting or that kind of thing, that there's a lot of no-go places and we don't talk about certain subjects. And we want to tackle those subjects because we believe it's important for us to start asking questions. And sometimes we may not have the answers, but sometimes it's good to dialogue about it. And that's one of the things that make Table Talk unique with us is we talk about stuff and we work through stuff, and we want to give you tools because we said over and over again, it's important for us to give you tools.
And it's for real life.
Absolutely. That's something we want
to
talk
about real life stuff.
Real life stuff.
Yes.
It's one thing talking about ideals. It's another thing talking about subjects that are never relatable and not going to affect my life. But because I think it's important for us to understand that God values us as individuals and wants to see us each succeed. And I think it's important for us to understand that because the Bible talks about that God is for us, not against us.
And to actually believe that is so huge.
Absolutely it is.
In actually beginning to actually target some of those areas where we might struggle.
Yes.
And we just want to cover up. But it's so good to be real, and we want to be real.
And I think that's something that's being said all along as people know us and get to know us. They value the fact that we're real and we're not hiding behind masks and hiding behind. We have issues to work through, and we're willing to talk about it and walk through it because I know when I hear others go through it, it gives them hope and bursts hope and bursts life. And so
it's huge because
that's what excites me of the whole thing.
Because when we lose our hope, it sucks the life out of us.
It does.
And so we actually want to bring life. And so we want to bring hope in your journey.
Yeah.
And because we found it in ours.
Yeah. That's right.
And you know what? When I posted this one, I said, ooh, this one was a tough one for me because it brought personal challenges that I've had to overcome.
And that's what I like about it, because people sometimes get the idea because we're in the public, we're in a role where people see us a lot and different things like that, that we just overcome all these things. And sometimes we don't overcome.
We've got all of our crap together and we don't always.
We don't, because we're still working through that process.
For sure.
What are we talking about today? I know we posted, we want to talk about what others think of you is none of your business.
Really?
That is an interesting subject.
That's a hard one.
I love our titles sometimes because it really speaks right to the core. Let's jump right in. It's like going swimming and jumping in the deep end and figuring it out as we go. And
rubber meets the road kind of stuff.
So we want to talk about this next 20 minutes or so. What others think of you is none of your business. The question that I wrote down here, I think is important to get us off, is why do we tend to care about what others think about us?
Yeah.
That's really important, because if we would take time and just really look at it for a second, why do we tend to care about others, of how they think of us?
And I think it's important to ask those questions because it actually makes us dig deep and saying, why?
Right.
Why is that such a trigger for me? That opinions of people.
Yes.
Why do we care so much about what people think?
And I'm glad we're talking about that, because we've both wrestled with that. And I think if we're honest, our listeners would be able to say that they struggle with that in some way, shape, or form too, because I think we're wired to want people to like us. I think we're wired. We don't like disappointing people. Yeah. But the reality is, if we're going to walk through life, we are going to hurt people. We're going to offend people. We're going to be offended. We're going to struggle through some issues. And and if we don't have tools or a framework to work from in which we can overcome those things, then it becomes a bondage in life.
Yeah, and it just can take us right out. It can just wipe us out, and we're laying in the ditch. Because
it can suck us right dry, that we have no drive to go any further.
No, exactly.
And many people, we were there, were trapped by the opinions of others. Yeah. And we couldn't move on. And so what was happening is we began to adjust, or I began and you began to adjust our life based on what other people think. And so we really could never reach our potential because we were too busy living other people's expectations.
Did you hear that? That was so good, honey.
What's that?
Do you want to say it again?
I don't remember.
You're going to have to rewind and watch it again
That's
after. Right. But that was a good point, because sometimes we feel trapped. You use the word trapped when people have opinions, and we're actually trying to, jump into that box.
And we want to talk about that, because there's three things that I think we want to pull out in the next 20 minutes here that I think will help just bring the discussion forward. And perhaps some of the things we talk about are going to resonate with you, that you turn around and apply these same tools to your own life, because we're after people living victorious.
Yes.
And there's so much out there. There's so much out there in life and doing life that we forget to live our own life. Yeah. And we get sidetracked. We get burdened. Yes. We get weighed down. Yeah. A life just sucks us dry, and as a result of it, we have no drive, no focus, no purpose, and we just want to navigate through this mess.
We're just trying to make it
and
through
try to make it through. And the thing is, I want to speak with honesty. It's not about making it through. It's not about just existing. It's about thriving, no matter which environment we put ourselves in. And so the sky is not falling. It's amazing how there's doctrine out there where the sky is falling and everything's doom and gloom. And I choose to think exact opposite of that. And I think we're entering into a new season where we're going to experience things we've never experienced before, because God's faithful, and that there is potential and opportunity to grow and expand our life and expand our influence.
Yeah, and you know what? I just actually read this the other day, and it was really a good reminder. For that fact is, when we truly believe that God is good and his heart intention is to bring good even out of all the crap, that is who he is.
Exactly.
He is restoring. That's what I'm going to watch for.
Yes.
Because that's who he is.
Absolutely.
And so that brings a lot of hope.
So why do we tend to care about what others think about us? There's three things, and we talked about a little bit as we discussed where we wanted to go with today's topic, and I always enjoy that, interacting with you and getting things, but three things we want to leave with you here tonight as you're watching. If you're watching live or watching later on, we just again are so grateful for being able to come into your home or wherever you are watching this. The first thing that I think is important, why we tend to care what others think about us, is we all want to be liked and valued by others.
Yes, we do.
I think deep down, and there's nothing wrong with having that desire to want to be liked or to be valued by others. Yeah. But the reality of it is, we want it so much that our worth as a person is built on that.
Yes.
And that's where it can get very tricky in life.
And I wrote that down while we were just talking about it this afternoon. And that was a huge battle for me to overcome. I can just remember ever since I was little, and I think there's a lot of us who feel that way, is we just want everyone to like us. And there's like a self-esteem that's built on a wrong foundation, on the opinions of others. Yeah. Because when we feel like we've disappointed somebody, or maybe somebody is actually not liking us, we're devastated inside.
And then we shape our life based upon that, because what motivates us then is not to bring us or what we have to offer.
Yes.
But it forces us to change so that we gain the approval of other people. And then we rob ourselves.
Yes.
And that's important to understand. We rob ourselves of who God made us to be and what we contribute to what life brings.
Yes. And you know what I thought of? I thought, why did I care so much? And why did I want that so much? And I think it was because I maybe didn't like things in myself. And so then when the opinions of others weighed really strongly in my life.
And it can be small even.
Yes.
It's just, I don't like the outfit you're wearing, or why'd you pick those colors?
Yeah.
But you hear enough of that when your life is built on when you don't know who you are.
That's huge.
You tend to pull from everyone else because if you don't understand your own identity, then you're looking to everyone else to bring identity.
Yes.
And so then your life is a very unbalanced a very unbalanced catechism in one sense, because you have nothing firm to stand on, because how people think are always going to be different than how we think.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be in a room with 10 people and you have 10 different ideas.
That's right.
And so when you're living to please everyone else because you don't know who yourself are, I mean, what a balancing act, what a bondage, what a hopeless circle of trying to get my identity through how other people think is important.
That is so huge. I love that you said that, because I've overcome a lot of that. And I realize the foundation is knowing who God says I am and being so confident in that. Yeah, it loses the pull.
So the first one is we want to be liked and valued by others so much that our worth is built upon that. And this is something that I wanted to give you before we moved on. And it's important for us to understand that, because the reality is people aren't always going to approve no matter what you do.
Yes.
People aren't always going to approve you no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that not everyone is going to like us. Not everyone is going to enjoy what we do or the decisions we make or the things we involve ourselves. There's always people, no matter how much you cater, no matter how much you want people's approval, you're not always going to get it.
Yes.
No matter what you do.
Yeah.
And so I put a big bold letters. So what?
So what? I think that's the word of the week.
So what?
So what?
They don't like this. So what? They don't like when you do this. So what? They don't like when you... So what?
So
like we make what other people think so valuable that we're willing to sacrifice our own individuality, our own passion, our own interests, our own stuff, so that we can gain applause or acceptance by other people.
Yes.
And again, it robs us from being who we are.
Yes.
And God never intended for us to be someone else's mold.
That is so good.
Never intended to be someone.
It is time to break the mold.
Absolutely.
And be you.
And many times our life gets rocked.
Yeah.
Because we don't get the approval of others.
Yeah.
And rocked for what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rocked for what? And I too have struggled with that in my life. And there's still moments that you want that. But man, there's a freedom that happens when you are totally okay with them not liking you or approving what you're doing. And
I think huge for us too, honey, is that journey of you liking you. Like when
that's powerful.
When you began to actually like you, it almost broke that chain of I don't care
because
what
you're
other
in bondage
opinions.
of always what other people's opinions, other people's beliefs.
Yeah.
That was huge for us in this process. People believed some things, and so we didn't, and we wanted to just to believe because we all had to follow suit.
Yeah.
And that's the tragedy, because it's not about following suit.
No.
It's about developing your own personal relationship with God and allowing His Word, His truth to infiltrate your life in your own experiences.
Yes. And you know what I find is sometimes we use the word religion, but it conforms everybody to look the same, act the same, speak the same, and it's actually God actually uniquely designed each of us
I
to just be you, and that breaks that bondage, right?
I have a note here before I move on to the second point. It says the foundation of our self-esteem is too often based on opinions of others.
Yes.
We've got to learn to be comfortable with who we are. That doesn't mean
free yourself.
That doesn't mean we don't change and develop and grow. That's not what that scope is. The scope there is we allow the foundation of our self-esteem to so often be based on what others think and others feel and
that is shaky ground.
It is very shaky
Your life
ground.
is going to be shaken all the time.
Absolutely. There's nothing stable about it.
Nope. That's right.
We've got to be comfortable in our own skin.
Yeah.
There's a second thing that I think we can talk about. First of all, why do we tend to care what others think about us is because we want to be liked and valued by others. Yes. The second thing, and this is important too, and I want to careful how I read it because I did some scribbling here.
Should I help you?
The second thing is we put too much weight on what others think, and it robs us of our peace, our security, and our well-being.
Yes.
We put too much weight. The second thing why we tend to care about what others think is we put too much weight on what others think.
Yes. Yeah.
And it robs us of our own individuality, our own peace or security, and well-being.
Yes. Yep.
That's why we do it.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's a wrong understanding or concept.
Yes.
And we've often talked about this during our table talks is how, God values for us who we are. And when we're in relationship with him, he grows that individuality and we become more aware of who God made us to be.
Yes.
And there's things we learn about ourselves. There's things we learn about God. There's things about we learn about how he shaped and molded us to be the people that he wants us to be. And we're not in competition with anyone else.
That's a big thing.
I think that's the biggest thing because so often we end up comparing ourselves. Well, this person is this and this person is there.
And I think that's
and then we feel threatened. So we feel we have to fit into someone else's mold. And we talked about that early on our table talks about breaking the mold. And if you haven't watched that, we encourage you to look it through our YouTube channel and just go to the playlist and go through the table talks that we do. And we talk about the breaking the mold.
Yes.
And
not fitting into other people's
not fitting
mold.
other people's mold.
And I think we put a lot of weight on what others think. And I know
I have a point here. It says we validate ourselves by others' opinions.
We feel it validates us.
And I think that speaks a lot about our own insecurities. Yeah. We're not comfortable with who we are, so we allow the people around us to carry more weight. And then again, like I said, it robs us of our peace.
And almost when we're struggling, and I know you've spoken on this the last few Sundays, is just being okay with our weaknesses. And sometimes we don't like those areas. There's certain areas we just want to keep covered up. So when other people's opinions, they say something, let's say positive, we feel validated. I'm like, oh, I must be doing something right. They don't see that area of struggle or weakness that we have. But there's something powerful about loving ourselves, our weaknesses, our strengths, our areas that we have to grow in yet, but understanding God has just designed us so uniquely and being free in the process, in the journey of growing.
We've often talked about the purpose of the journey and the process involved in us growing and learning and developing and becoming.
And knowing we are already validated.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
The opinions of others shift and shape just like the weather outside. I mean, when it's so unpredictable. And the thing is that we base our life upon that. We're unpredictable too.
Yes.
And we want you to be free to be who God's designed you to be. And don't let what others think about you or how you believe or how you work things through to be the shifting factor.
I remember struggling with that for so many years. Honey, I was in such bondage of actually not wanting to offend anybody. I would, at all cost, I would want to keep the peace and make sure everybody liked me. So I did things, I dressed certain ways, I did everything to actually just make sure I was not free at all.
No.
Not free at all.
And yet on the outside, people look at that and go, oh, wow, she is credible. Oh. But inside you were a mess. Because of the value system of the culture we grew up in put emphasis on this is what it looks like to be.
And I believed that. Yeah. The thing is, I took that on and I believed that was the way I was supposed to be.
And that's, again, we talked about this a while back, about breaking the box that we put things in. And I'm so tired of boxes because it just robs us of being who God created us to be. And we need to break out of systems and boxes and experience the fullness that God has for us, because it goes beyond the system, beyond the box, beyond the form.
Yeah.
And that's the incredible journey.
It is so amazing. Journey. I'm just thankful. Yeah. God broke our boxes. So the
second thing is, when we put too much weight on what others think, it robs us of our peace, security, and well-being.
Yeah. And you know what? That's one thing, honey.
Yes.
That I work very hard at right now. Work very hard maybe isn't the right term, but to keep my peace and joy and freedom.
When we live,
and that means letting go of what people think.
When we live for the opinions of others, we sacrifice our peace.
We do.
We sacrifice it.
We do.
And peace is too valuable just to give away to anyone. And I like how you said that, because it's important. We need to protect those aspects, that we don't just give it away.
Yes.
You know, someone can say something about us or have an opinion about something, and if we're not secure in who we are, we give that peace
out
do. like candy.
Yes.
And we're the ones robbed, because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't really care. They have their own agenda.
Yep.
I'm saying in general.
Yes.
People have their own
because
agenda.
Sometimes when we're really strong, when we have opinions about somebody, and we might have opinions about somebody, and they might not be right.
Yeah,
but sometimes when we have a strong opinion, we do actually want to put it on somebody else, so maybe they'll fit into our opinion box.
Yeah. And we have to free people even in that area.
We do.
Absolutely.
Yep, we do.
There's a third thing that we will leave to as we're coming short to a close. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And we appreciate your comments. If you have things, and we look at them and we value them, and we just appreciate your input in this, because this is just the thing we're inviting you to join with us.
Yes.
Third thing is, and I kind of like this one, I think you came up with this one, is you have to mind your own business.
Mind your own business.
Your own business.
Yes. You don't have to worry about other people's business, and they don't have to worry, and you don't have to worry about them worrying about your business.
No, that's right.
Just mind your own business.
It's amazing how often our life is shaped like that. Our whole everything is disrupted because we're making assumptions about somebody thinking about us, and then we get defensive, and all of a sudden we call this big hurricane when there was nothing to be hurricaned about.
Yes. And what if somebody does come up and makes your business their business? Like, has opinions, and you're really battling with that. Remind yourself, just mind your own business. That is their struggle.
And some people can really struggle with decisions you made, and it's like to the point where they struggle, where they make it their struggle.
Yes.
And
We've done that too.
Absolutely. And then we get involved in this whole press to make it our struggle, when if we would learn in the nice way to mind our own business, there's nothing to do with me. I have to learn to manage. And I think this is an important word.
Yes.
We've got to learn to manage our own life.
Yes.
And too often we're too busy wanting to manage other people. And we go out of the way for that. We will make opinions. We will say things. We'll send letters, or we'll make Facebook posts, or we'll send emails. And we have to learn to mind our own business.
Yes.
We often think, we feel like we have to, is our God-given conviction, to tell that to other people.
Yes.
When if we learn to mind our own business, I mean, my life is complicated enough by itself.
Got our own
and when I start getting my dander up into someone else's,
guess what? The stress level goes like through the roof, and then it's in your
I have enough on my own plate to manage. And if I would focus on that as much as I focus on other people, how much further ahead would our lives be?
If we would all do that.
All do that.
Can you imagine? I would be growing because I'm minding my business and seeing my own struggles and growing. You would do the same.
Absolutely.
Everyone would do the same. That would be pretty heavenly. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think so too.
Minding our own business.
I have a little note here that says we should never need validation from others.
Yeah.
And we need to be comfortable with who we are. And so that's kind of our little spiel for Table Talk here this Wednesday evening. Again, we want to thank you for joining us. And we're glad you take time, whether you do watch us live or whether you watch us later on down the road when it gets uploaded to YouTube or paged through.
And you know what? Sometimes
Yes,
me and you have to rewatch what we talked about.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes because sometimes we're confronted with something right after we've had table talk. And we're like, oh, actually now we got to actually go back and listen to what we said.
Right.
Because those are some really good tools that we can use ourselves.
So, hey, folks, we want to say thank you again for joining with us. We really enjoy this time together with you. And
we have a blast.
We do. And so if it's been a blessing to you, again, hit the share button. We would love for this to go out as far as it can go.
Send us a message. Even with some conversations that you'd like to actually engage
absolutely. We would be more than willing to tackle that.
We welcome that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and we'll say goodbye for this evening.
Have a great night.